Hey, Larken Rose here, and I thought I'd finally do a video about a review that was posted on Amazon back in August, a review of Jones Plantation, the movie. And it's it's an amazing demonstration of, well, several things. One is confirmation bias, that people see what they want to see, and they'll just imagine things that support whatever they believe. And ignore things that obviously show that to be dead wrong. But also just the fact that people aren't very good at thinking clearly, and they can't take a hint a lot of the time. So, and I expected this sort of thing to happen, because when you have something like Jones Plantation that totally makes fun of both the parasites who wear the label Republican and the parasites who wear the label Democrat, which are the same damn thing, when you have somebody who fell for one of them, they will sort of eagerly and openly accept the criticism of the other side. But when it comes to the parts that's bashing the stupid stuff they believe in, they'll sort of miss it or make excuses for it or whatever. Anyway, so I'll jump right into this review. So the title of this is wage slavery is greater than chattel slavery. So you might be saying, what are you talking about? You'll see. So he starts by saying, considering its tight budget, the film turned out to be not so bad. After all, what do you mean after all? Like, you were just assuming it would. I still prefer the animated version, he says. It is more powerful in delivering the message. Now, in a minute, you'll figure out that the reason he prefers the animated version is that he didn't understand that one either. The feature film delivers a different message. No, it doesn't. I wrote them both. It's the same message. The movie just gets more in depth. But here he goes. The feature film delivers a different message, that wage slavery is better than chattel slavery. What? How the hell can somebody watch the movie and think that that was the punchline? That was the meaning of it. They can only think that if they were trying really hard to not recognize the bashing of their own crappy belief system. So now you may be wondering, how the hell did he get to that? Like, it depicts two sets of lying parasites pitching different plans to the workers, and one obviously represents Republican. It's more like hard work and do it yourself and blah, blah, blah. And one represents, we're going to care and take care of all of you, which is obviously the Democrat side. And both of them are complete liars and parasites. Like, both of them are just spewing BS to keep the livestock producing for their masters. Like, how could anybody miss that? So if he's trying to pretend that, well, this is saying Jones is better than Johnson, what? No. How would you possibly miss the point that badly? But, okay, so here we go. And then he says, yes, there are hints of government with the flag-waving, pledging of allegiance, the whole election circus, but no explicit mention of it. If you can't tell that this is making fun of the political system, I don't know what to tell you. It's not hints. It's literally the entire movie depicts exactly what the ruling class does to divide people. Somehow he missed that. Oh, that wasn't an explicit mention of it. In fact, at the end, it really is an explicit, like what Jones says at the end. How explicit do you want it to be? But then he says this, quote, on the other hand, it is a no-brainer that a plantation is a privately owned company. Now, I don't know how many times I've had to explain this to commies and socialists. Voluntarism and the concept of self-ownership excludes the possibility of slavery. You don't get to own somebody because they own themselves. That's... I don't I don't know how anyone could possibly miss that. So a slave plantation is an aggressor. It's some people committing aggression against others and exploiting them and treating them as livestock. That isn't just a privately owned company. But what's even more weird is he seemed to be implying that a privately owned company was better than outright slavery, and missed the entire point that Samuel explains at the end, which is nothing changed. But it isn't because it's privately owned, it's because nothing actually changed. They just use different words, which Samuel explained. Not sure how this guy missed it. But apparently he thought the point of the movie was that was Mr. Smith there and this private corporation, that was better than chattel slavery. How dense do you have to be to watch the movie and think that Mr. Smith in charge was a portrayal of an improvement in what humanity should be? So already, just what were you smoking, dude, that's what you think the movie was about? But now you see the confirmation bias that's making him just completely delusional. Because he goes on to say, what no one is talking about, and hardly anyone even noticed, okay, is that Noah was actually promoting socialist ideas in his 1-minute speech. No, he wasn't. Mr. Johnson perfectly encapsulated the socialist mentality of the government will take care of you and take care of all your needs. Noah was saying, hey, we don't like them keeping as much. Noah is the kind of person who got killed by socialists like Stalin and Lenin for saying, hey, wait a minute, you said this was going to be fair and it isn't really. Noah's the kind of person that tens of millions of them got murdered by actual socialists in power by pointing out that the bullshit that socialists fall for turns into authoritarian violent evil. And Noah was trying to do it by way of politics. Noah is the Libertarian Party. Nothing socialist about a word he said. He was just saying, hey, why do they get to keep so much? And what happened? He accomplished nothing because he was playing politics. How somebody could decide that Noah was a cheerleader for socialism, like, you have to be trying pretty hard to ignore the fact that Johnson perfectly represents collectivism and communism and socialism in his sales pitch of his master plan. By the way, the book, Jones Plantation, can get way more in-depth to things than the movie does. So you can get that at thejonesplantationbook.com if you want. But Johnson totally does the collectivist pitch of, we're going to take care of you. And in the book, it gets more into the discussion of, like, why are we even doing this? Like, they're asking Mr. Smith, why are we doing this? Like, you're not rewarding hard work anymore. And Smith explains why, and explains the approach and explains the trick, which is what collectivism and socialism actually is. So for someone to ignore the fact that Johnson represents socialism because he explained it is just bonkers. By the way, at the time period that the movie was supposed to take place, 1850s or whatever, Karl Marx's inane, absolute bullshit was already out and was already spreading. So in the book, Smith actually makes mention. He doesn't mention Marx by name, but in the speech that Johnson gives, he's talking about, oh, some people have come up with these bold new plans. He means Karl Marx and the Communist Manifesto, because yes, that came out before slavery ended in the U.S. I looked it up to make sure. I could have used the concepts anyway, but it's more of a direct reference to Marx himself. So for somebody who advocates collectivism to watch the movie and hear Johnson's speech and not say, oh crap, that's about me, but decide that Noah like one of the kind of good guys who's trying to get freedom. He's for socialism. No, he's stinking not. Anyway, so and then here comes the accidental confession of what this collectivist bonehead actually thinks. Quote, this is from his review. So there's the irony. A bunch of capitalist simps. There you have it. Who uses that terminology except commies? Literally nobody. Like, way too many people now complain about corporo-fascism and stick the label of capitalism on it. So half the time the people who are cheering for capitalism and the people who are bashing capitalism are using the term to mean completely different things. So a lot of times I'll just skip the word entirely. Because the advocates of capitalism use the word to mean what it actually means in the dictionary and historically meant, which is the ownership of everything is private. You don't have collectivized government owning crap. You have individuals owning things, and in a free market being able to decide what to do and what to trade. But the people bashing capitalism point to what we have now, which is corporo-fascism with government tentacles in almost everything, and bash that as being capitalism. So I'm not going to bother arguing about the definition of capitalism here. I've brought this up before. But when somebody says, a bunch of capitalist simps, okay, he's obviously being a commie. So here he goes. So there's the irony. A bunch of capitalist simps, in an attempt to expose government, unwittingly expose capitalism for what it is. No, it isn't. And the fact that somebody misses this distinction doesn't surprise me a whole lot. It doesn't matter how clear you are and obvious something is. Somebody will miss it entirely. The fact that they pitch, like Jones pitches, in fact, this is a perfect parallel, which is why it's written in there. Jones pitches that version of enslavement as freedom. You're just here working and earning a wage. And Smith, like in the movie a little bit and in the book even more, explains the deception of like, yeah, but they can't do anything. They don't own any property here. They're not allowed to. We control what they can own and who they can trade with. They can't trade with the outside without our permission, so we control everything. So they have the illusion of freedom, but they don't own anything, and they have to deal with us. And they have to work for us. That is the opposite of actual capitalism. Now, it's what a lot of commies complain about when they use the word capitalism, which is corporo-fascism. But it isn't actually capitalism. But it's so funny that a commie will stretch his brain as hard as he can to pretend that this is bashing a free market. Which, no, it isn't. There's nothing free about it. It's pitched as freedom. That's the whole point. Like, did you miss the explanation? The bludgeoning you over the head at the end by Mr. Jones? So his review continues. They claim, or so they were taught, that capitalism is voluntary and stands for freedom. It is, and it does. That's what the word originally meant. Now, a lot of people, again, are going to argue about it. Commies want to apply the term to what we have now, which is nowhere close to freedom and nowhere close to voluntary. It's a bunch of huge corporations using government coercion to their benefit, sometimes more blatantly, sometimes less blatantly. That's not actual capitalism. But again, I don't want to get bogged down into an argument over what the term means. The point is, he does this weird thing where he wants to bash actual freedom, because that's what capitalism actually means. But then he admits that what the movie is showing isn't that. It's not freedom. And then he just completely skips the fact that the other face of the puppet show is exactly what he believes. Collectivist bullshit where a centralized thing is going to take care of people and give them free this and that and the other thing. So he says, they claim, or so they were taught, that capitalism is voluntary and stands for freedom. And they are right. And you can choose your master and pay the bills all by yourself instead of being at his mercy. So now, so many levels of clueless. He wants to pretend that this is what anybody who condones capitalism supports. Nobody supports this. Literally zero people. support this. And 0 of the people that advocate for capitalism mean this when they say capitalism. So if you're going to bash somebody by first completely changing the meaning of the word of the thing they support, well, to me, capitalism means kicking puppies. How could you support kicking puppies? They don't. You just changed the definition so you could more easily bash it. That's called a straw man fallacy. You changed their position to be able to bash it because it looks really weird for you to bash their actual position, which is people should be free and individuals should just be able to decide for themselves what to do, which is obviously not what is depicted in Jones Plantation, the movie, or the book. And so the whole thing, they have to pay their bills. So you see the entitlement mentality. You know damn well who this guy would have voted for if he was one of the workers. I like Johnson's plan. He's going to give us free stuff. Well, how much will that cost? Don't worry about it. It's one of my favorite lines. Just don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. You just do the work, and we'll take care of you. That's what socialists fall for. That's what they cheer for. That's what they want. And you can see it dripping through the implications of this guy's review, which is just hysterical. Because it means even when the trick is showed to you for what it is, you still fall for it. You still want socialism. Even though, and you have this fictional movie, you also have the Soviet Union, where tens of millions of people died as a result of applying your crappy beliefs to reality. So you can point at the movie and go, well, that's just fiction. Yeah, it is, although it pretty closely represents reality. Soviet Union wasn't fiction. Neither was Red China. Neither was the Pol Pot's game and the, however other many examples of violent authoritarian socialism you want to point to. But this person is just desperately trying not to see you're still one of the people who would fall for the game. You would just whine at Jones and vote for Johnson and get the same outcome. And other people would whine at Johnson and vote for Jones. And the fact that anybody is so stuck in their delusion that they can watch the game and still be like, yeah, Jones is a meanie. Yeah. And also, and furthermore, Johnson, he has our best interest. Just, and then the final line in his review is, and if you work very hard, one day you can become a slave master too. How hard did you have to try to not get the point that literally a 5-year-old should be able to understand? Maybe not quite that young, but the point is really obvious. The difference between individual freedom and having a system forced on you where there's still a ruling class. And you think the point of the Jones Plantation was if you work hard, then you can be a slave master too, and that's a good thing. So it's sort of funny. It's also sort of depressing, because it shows how much people get attached to their patently stupid ideas. And socialism is a patently stupid idea, so much so that even when you pull back the veil and show it for what it is, they still just won't look. They'll go, it's capitalism. Capitalism's the problem. Okay, first of all, you don't even know what the word means. Second of all, it represented both sides. And it showed the puppet masters pulling the strings of Jones and Johnson. And if you're still picking sides after you see the show and you see behind the stage of how the puppet show works, and you're still cheering for Johnson, it's like somebody, one of the workers snuck in and overheard all the conversations between Johnson and Smith and was like, yeah, I'm going to vote Johnson. I think his plan is... So, it was too funny to not make a video about. It's also kind of sad that people are that bad at thinking, and that socialists are that, they get emotionally, basically religiously attached to the bullshit collectivism that they fell for. And by the way, the conservatives do the same thing. There will be, and again, the book describes this more than the movie had time to, but Smith talks about, we want, like, devout, enthusiastic people in the Jones camp and devout people in the Johnson camp, and we want them at war with each other. Not so much that it all the way gets violent and they're killing each other, but we want their anger aimed at each other instead of at us. So this guy who did this review, where is his anger aimed? Literally at people advocating his freedom. Literally at Samuel. This guy is mad at Samuel and defending Johnson and too clueless to even notice it. So, if you haven't yet seen the movie, it's on Amazon Prime, which makes it really easy. It's like $3.99 or something to rent. So you can get that on Amazon. There's also T-shirts, and the DVDs are now available at jonesplantationfilm.com. And then the book version is available at thejonesplantationbook.com. But, so yeah, I am fully aware of the fact that there are some people who, no matter how obviously you hit them in the face with the truth, they don't want the truth. You offer them a truth and a freedom that they don't want. Thanks for proving my point, Mr. Anonymous Reviewer. Oh well.